معهم الكتاب والميزان ليقوم الناس بالقسط. Permit me to begin my introduction by saluting the people of Palestine. All of us, all the free people of the world, believers and non-believers, Muslims and non-Muslims, those who have moral conscience, those who are free in their spirit and their mind, those who are not being incarcerated and captivated by this dunya. Today they stand with Gaza, with Palestine, with thousands and thousands of people who lost their lives. They lost their children. They lost their loved ones. Many of them are sleeping in the streets. Many of them do not have a shelter. Many of them do not have a safe drinking water. No medicine, no food. Though we live thousands of miles away from them, but in our hearts, in our minds, in our souls, we stand with them and we support them. Because our book, the Holy Quran says, the verse that I recited, God says, I sent this pool of messengers and prophets and apostles with all these scriptures, the Torah, the Bible, the Quran, for one reason. For one reason, لِيَقُومَ النَّاسُ بِالْقِسْطِ, so mankind stand for justice. And we have to stand for justice. We are not related to the people of Palestine by blood. They are not our relatives by blood. But we are related to them in humanity. We do not support them because they are Muslims. We support them because they are a human being. Because they have been oppressed and persecuted and destroyed for the last 8 years. What we see today is the last chapter, my friends, of this genocide, of this Holocaust, of these crimes against the humanity. God says in the Torah, in the book of Judaism, God says the following. He says, من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل. When the first crime was committed, one brother slew his own brother. God said, we prescribed upon the Jews, the children of Israel. We said to them, من أجل ذلك. We said to them, أنه verily من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا. If you commit a single murder against a single innocent person, a human being, any human being, for no reason and no justification, as if you have slaughtered the entire humanity. This is in their book. This is a crime against the humanity. What is happening? And God said in the Holy Quran about this genocide and this Holocaust and these atrocities, He said to Bani Israel, He forewarned them, He reminded them 4,000 years ago. He said to them, وَلَتَعْلُنَّ عُلُوًّا كَبِيرًا. You would reach the pinnacle of mischief and arrogance and corruption in the land. But you cannot win. You would never be able to win. God designed this life in a way that oppressors would not win. God says, وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلُ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. Verily, indeed, batil, falsehood, corruption, arrogance, occupation is bound to be defeated, is bound to fail. And you will see, my friends, you will see how they would fail miserably. Let me share with you an important parable, a biblical story, which is mentioned in the Torah and the Quran. In the Torah, in the book of Samuel, in the Quran, in the 2nd chapter. It occupies 2 pages of our book, page number 40 and 41. This parable, this story, this biblical story. Beginning with verse 246 onward. The children of Israel, it's the story of Saul and Goliath, Talut and Jalut. But it has a deep meaning. It has a mystical meaning, cryptic meaning, deep meaning. God says the children of Israel, after the death of Moses, they asked one of their prophets, they said to him, we've been oppressed in this land. We've been expelled from our land. See, the same thing that they suffered from, they are doing it to the Palestinians. They said, we have been expelled from our land. ألم تر إلى الملأ من بني إسرائيل من بعد موسى إذ قالوا لنبي لهم ابعث لنا ملكا نقاتل في سبيل الله. We've been oppressed, we've been taken, expelled from our land, separated from our children. So please, we ask you to raise among us a leader, a king, who lead us to victory upon our enemy. And we would be ready to fight in the way of God. Their prophet said to them, said to his community, he said to them, are you sure you are ready to fight in the way of God? They said, of course. وَمَا لَنَا أَنْ لَا نُقَاتِلْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Why we shouldn't? وَقَدْ أُخْرِجْنَا مِنْ دِيَارِنَا. We have lost our land. The enemy occupied our land. We lost our children, so definitely we will fight. He said, okay, we will see. فَلَمَّا كُتِبَ عَلَيْهُمُ الْقِتَالِ. When God prescribed the war upon them, the fighting upon them, تَوَلَّوْا, they turned away. إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. They failed in the test. They promised in the beginning that we will fight for our rights, for our existence, for our dignity. But when the matter became serious, and now they have to fight, تَوَلَّوْا إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِنْهُمْ. They turned away. Anyhow, the prophet said to them, God sent Saul, Talut, to be your leader. So they started arguing with their prophet. They said, but this man does not have money. We need someone who's rich. This is the mentality. In order for you to be honorable, you have to have money. That's it. The prophet said to them, but he has a character, good character. He's loyal. He has faith. He is determined. He has commitment. So anyhow, وَلَمَّا فَصَلَ طَالُوتُ بِالْجُنُودِ. When you have time, read this story at home. Reflect on this parable. When he set forth with his army, he said to them, listen, wait, I have to say something. قال إن الله مبتليكم بنهر. God is going to test you with a stream. What is the stream here? Why? How does he test me with a stream? قال إن الله مبتليكم بنهر فمن شرب منه فإنه فليس مني. Whoever drinks from that stream and river is not of me. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَطْعَمْهُ فَإِنَّهُ مِنِّي. But the one who resists the thirst and listens to me and obey me, he is of me. إِلَّا مَنْ اخْتَرَفَ غُرْفَةً بِيَدِهِ. Save for the one who scooped up a handful. It's okay. What is the meaning of the river here, my friends? We know the Quran has exoteric meaning and esoteric meaning. Exoteric is the zahir, the outward meaning. But then there is a deep meaning. And the deep meaning, God says, only God knows the meaning of it, and whom? Ahl-e-Bait alayhimus salam. وَمَا يَعْلَمُ تَأْوِيلُهُ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَالرَّاسِخُونَ فِي الْعِلْمِ. Those who are well versed in knowledge, and those who are well versed in knowledge are Muhammadun wa Alu Muhammad. So the physical meaning is the river. Don't drink too much. If you drink too much, you get tired. You cannot fight. But the real meaning, the cryptic meaning, the mystical meaning, the batin, is the dunya, this dunya. If you take too much of the wealth and the dunya, you would never be able to be patient. You would never be able to resist. You would never be able to continue your journey. You would never be able to strive, because this dunya is going to pull you down. Pull you down. The more money you have, the more problems you're going to develop, believe me. So God says, take what is necessary. If you make more, you have to share it with others. Don't keep it for yourself. Don't keep it for yourself. This is the parable in the Quran. But then Banu Israel, what did they do? Did they listen? They didn't listen. فَشَرِبُوا مِنْهُ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا مِنْهُ. The entire army, save a few of them, drank from that water. فَلَمَّا جَاوَزَهُ. When they crossed the river, and now it's time for a struggle and fight, they could not. قَالُوا لَا طَاقَةَ لَنَا الْيَوْمَ بِجَالُوتَ وَجُنُودِهِ. We have no power over them, no energy. Because they have been intent. لا طاقة لنا اليوم بجالوت وجنوده. Jalut, Goliath. Because they've been entangled with this dunya. If you are attached to this dunya, my friend, you would have no room and no time to think about others. When you are so much attached to this dunya and to the desires of this dunya, which has no end, it would never end, believe me. The more money we make, the more we want. The more property we purchase, the more we want. This is the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, nothing can stop the greed of Bani Adam save death, only death. Until the moment of death, they want more and more and more and more. So they could not fight, they could not resist. لا طاقة لنا اليوم بطالوت وجنوده. But then only the few, they said, we are ready. قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو الله. They are determined. They said, though we have a small number, smaller group, our equipment is not that much. Our weapon is very simple and primitive. We don't have sophisticated weapon like our enemy. But we are determined because we believe, we trust God. We trust His promise. قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو الله كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة بإذن الله والله مع الصابرين. How a small group defeated and crushed a large group by God's leave, by God's permission. And God always stands with those who persevere.
Subhanallah.
This is not only for Bani Israel, for all of us. A story that applies for all of us. All communities, all times. If you have a trust in God, even if you have a small number, God will promise you victory. والله مع الصابرين. ولما برزوا لجالوت وجنوده قالوا ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا. Listen to these three requests. When the time of the confrontation came and combat, what did they say? Oh God, number one, we need you to pour down upon us continence and patience and perseverance. Without it, we cannot do anything. If we don't have patience, we cannot progress. See, earlier someone said, you started this journey how many years ago? I remember myself, I did not come from the beginning. I came halfway through, 20 years ago when you had one of your fundraisers. How many years ago? That was first.
19 years ago.
19 years ago, okay? You started from nothing, from zero, sub-zero. Look at where you stand today. This is a beautiful mosque, the dome, the minaret. And today it is adorned, something new that I see tonight. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. And the school, the state of art school. Friends, as Dr. Kharazi mentioned, the school has a capacity of 200 students. 250 students. You know, you have to have a waiting list for this school. Such a building has to have a waiting list. It's not acceptable from your community, a good community, progressive community, to have only 31 students. It's not acceptable. God has endowed you and bestowed upon you this gift. So be thankful to God. Be thankful by sending your children. There are people who drive several hours to make it here. And this is investment for the future. You are not going to regret it. Every penny you spend on this institution, every mile you drive, every effort you make, you are not going, this is the real investment. You are not going to regret that. Believe me, that is the best type of investment we make in this country, in America. When we invest on our children, the future of our children, the moral, the spiritual. We want our children to be صابرين. كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة والله مع الصابرين. You want them to persevere. You don't want them to be defeated. You don't want them to be knocked out. You want them to be strong. You want them to bring healing to others. You want your son and your daughter to be a refuge for the young generation in this country. And this is the investment. Send them to the right school. Send them to the right institution. So, رَبَّنَا أَفْرِغْ عَلَيْنَا صَبْرًا وَثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَنَا. The second request, make our steps firm. ثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَنَا وَانصُرْنَا. Give us victory upon the wrongdoers, people who have no faith. وَانصُرْنَا عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الْكَافِرِينَ. God says at the end, the conclusion, the finale, فَهَزَمُوهُمْ بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. They routed them out with the permission of God. They crushed them with the permission of God. Through faith, through resilience and patience. Mu'mineen, for any community, any society, even any country to prosper, to reach its full potential, you need the three elements. These three elements have to work hand in hand. Not two elements, not one, but the three elements. Three elements of success for every community, for every society. Element number one, the law of the land. The constitution, the bylaws has to be comprehensive and just, and it has to cater for all community members. There should be no discrimination. When the law of the land discriminates and has double standard, then that society is not going to prosper. That society is going to suffer. When the constitution is broken, put some people above others, that society, the entire society is going to suffer. So here, the law of the land has to be just and comprehensive.